Hello, guys. So the first half of the Cristiano Ronaldo interview with Piers Morgan has literally, finished about, was it 10, 15 minutes ago, something like that. Had a little bit of time to kind of, reflect on it, I suppose. A little underwhelming, in my personal opinion. I think we got done by promotion. We were saying off air there, pretty much by Piers Morgan, selling it a lot more than what it actually was. Sam, you described it as an exercise in PR and marketing. What are your thoughts on that interview as a whole?
Like me and Severe work within the marketing industry, and we were just saying, like, off air, we got done. We fucking bought into it, and we should have known better, because that interview, there was a few interesting snippets which I've got notes for, but most of it was an exercise in sympathy gathering. And he deserves, like, from the stuff he said about his family and stuff, which we'll get into, he fully deserves that on that side of it, no questions. But it's just, it seems like in the old days, the way they used to do things, when a TV series would have a finale, they'd split it into two parts, just so they could sell more ad revenue. So you could do two shows and sell more ad revenue and make more money. This kind of what's going on here. It's an exercise in gathering sympathy from neutral fans for Ronaldo's cause, and then PR and marketing. So yeah, there wasn't the spicy quotes that we were expecting and the takedowns that we were expecting, and maybe they're saving that for the second half, so they make you watch both parts. But yeah, there was nothing revolutionary in this interview.
I mean, even with Cristiano's performances this season, that was still not a great 45 minutes himself, I don't believe. So there, without going into the thoughts of the interview too much itself, what did you make of it as a whole?
It's like we were saying, it was kind of underwhelming. But I suppose that's just based on the expectation that we had before coming into it, because everyone thought it was going to be this explosive interview and like a tell-all sort of thing, bloody soap opera sort of, levels. And it was a lot more personal than that. And he touched on a lot of personal stuff going in with Ronaldo, but then very, very smartly would then throw in a few like, with the whole Rooney thing. All the controversial stuff was kind of sandwiched in between the emotional bits.
Balanced it out, didn't it?
Balanced it out really well. And I think this is something that fans need to be really, really careful about, because he said what he said. We've heard him say certain things, especially the stuff about Ten Hag, which obviously will be shown tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we need to be careful not to take the bait, because one thing with fans is once we hear Glazers, oh, we're going crazy. Like, yeah. Once they go all Glazers or the owners or the club, everyone's like, yeah, we're on his side. But we need to be very, very careful that we don't get, there's a word, not bamboozled. Anyway, we don't get
Honeydicked.
yeah, hoodwinked. Yeah, well, we don't get conned into this whole thing. What we all heard what was said, but anyway, it was underwhelming. I was a bit, it kind of made me sleepy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Also, we saw a lot of it in snippets in the past. Like yesterday, we've seen like loads of the things that was coming out already. So I'd say about 20 minutes of it was only really new stuff, and it wasn't like you said. It was a lot of it was obviously about the tragedy that's happened in his life, which you can sympathise with. But other bits were kind of like, it was very sandwiched in between things. But we're gonna dive into that now. So we're gonna go from obviously a few of the things from where we started up until the very end, and go in kind of chronological order if we can. He got asked about how close he was going to Man City. Ronaldo said very close. Pep tried very hard to get me, but my heart was speaking loud. I wanted to be loyal, and it was a conscious decision. Sir Alex played a big part. I spoke to him beforehand, and he convinced me to go, basically. Is there a belief deep down with you, Sam, he would have gone had Ferguson not rang him?
Yeah, probably. If the money was right, and the fact that he could, because he seemed so interested in playing in Champions League and winning trophies, which is his right as I suppose as a top player as he thinks he is. Yeah, I have no doubt he would have gone. I don't think sentimentality means much to Ronaldo in terms of football. I think he goes where the trophies are and where the money is and where he can win the most stuff. I think that's what it's about for Ronaldo. You saw what happened when he left United the first time. He wanted to leave and he was saying that he was being treated like a slave, and then he was convinced to stay for one more season and then went to Real Madrid. And then the Real Madrid story didn't end well either, did it really? Went to Juve, didn't end well there either. So he goes where he thinks he can make an impact, he'll be wanted, and he'll win trophies. So I don't have any doubts that he probably would have gone to City had Rio and Sir Alex not stepped in and got involved.
I think I know the answer to this question, Severe, but does the loyalty from Cristiano, the way he's putting it out there, does it seem genuine to you at all?
Absolutely not. I'll give you a typical example. The first time he was at United, and when the speculation was building that he was going to go, a lot of times he was asked in the press, "What's the future?" And he would say, "Only God knows the future." He never said no. He never said anything, complimentary up, to the fans. He never, and that was when, then at the time, like I was like, everyone was worried, like this is our player and he's going to go. And we just needed to hear something that would kind of calm us down. And I remember Fabregas was at Arsenal, and he was also being linked to Barcelona. And whenever they would talk to Fabregas would be like, "I'm a die." He always had something warm to say about Arsenal. It's like, I want to stay at Arsenal. This is my club, blah, blah, blah. Even though he eventually left and we kind of saw him going, like he was being courted by all sorts of teams. And Fabregas would always be like, "Oh, I'm all about Arsenal." But Ronaldo was never complimentary. And when he left, like I watched his documentary. I don't know if any of you watched that documentary that came out, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, yeah. When he was at Real Madrid, he had this documentary that came out. This thing was maybe like 90 minutes. They barely mentioned Man United in there. He had a small section that mentioned Sir Alex, but there was nothing about Manchester United in that. I mean, it was we mentioned maybe for like half a minute, maybe. Do you understand? So this guy he's never really, I don't understand. So when he came back this time and everyone was going crazy, I wasn't, because I know what he's all about. He's never, ever had any sort of genuine, we're just a stepping stone to Manchester United. And ever since he left, whenever he had problems at Real Madrid, and he would always use us as bait, because you would hear the rumors, us being linked to Ronaldo, and then he signed our contract with Real Madrid. So yeah, to answer your question, no, I don't see there's nothing that, and this is not bias, it's just I haven't seen anything that shows any sort of loyalty.
Same thing
to us, to the club.
Same thing happened with Pogba, wasn't it? Like Pogba left in auspicious circumstances, and then when he was coming back to United, there was this whole thing about him coming home, and he's always wanted to come back and unfinished business, and he's just like, I didn't believe a fucking word of it. Dude is talented, no doubt. Like the guy's got talent and he's a good player, but the whole thing about coming back and he always wanted to come back, it's like it's bollocks. No, he didn't. He came because they're paying him a shit.
You didn't believe any of that?
No. He's coming because he got paid a shit ton of money. They were made the idea that they're going to build the team around him and he was going to be the main star, etc. That's what it was. That's what he came to United for. I didn't believe anything with Pogba and the shite surrounding that. Great marketing, fantastic marketing, great campaign.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Cristiano. You didn't believe any of that when he came back.
I was talking about Pogba, saying this is similar example. Like that's how you got to kind of look at it. Ronaldo, I got caught up in it because.
Oh yeah.
Ronaldo, I'm a fan of Ronaldo. I love what he did, and the absolute dreadful seasons that we have had since Sir Alex left have taken its toll on me, and I was sort of grabbing for any sort of hope. Like I remember when Alexis Sanchez came, I was like, if this dude replicates his form at Arsenal, we're gonna be fucking. Didn't happen, did it? It was just these little bits of hope you're trying to find and trying to grab onto, and it just But you have to see it like Severe said. You got to see it for what it is. This guy much like Pogba, it's about him. It's not about United or history or love for the club. It's about him, and that's the way you got to see it.
I agree with you, Sam, because I really like Pogba, and but even when he came back, I knew it wasn't just an emotional return. It was more about the marketing and everything else that came with it. But the difference between both of them is Pogba, even when because I followed him on Instagram and all that stuff. Pogba's still friends with Lionel Cole. Does anybody remember who that is?
Yeah. He used to play in the youth system.
Yeah, he's still. If you go through he's friends with some of the guys he played with at United when he was like 14. All them Lionel Cole. Forgot this other guy's name as well. Janusai. There's quite a few of them, and there were times when he was at Juve, and he comes back. He visits. He goes. There was a video of them playing PlayStation or something in one of their flats in London. This is when he's like the big star. So at least there was something there with Pogba where he still had friends from his time at Man United when he was in the academy. So it's a bit so. Yeah, it's kind of like that. That was just a little bit different with Pogba to Ronaldo, but I get it. It wasn't an emotional return with Pogba. It was all about mineral and marketing, and just it was the best move. I think that.
Well, even when Cristiano came back, which he spoke about with Piers Morgan on the interview, only De Gea was the only player, wasn't it? When he came back, who he'd previously played with. So it'd been how long since he was left in 2009? Was it? So you're talking about 13 years, something like that. Since he came back, and he said when I signed, I thought everything would change, but everything was the same, and it surprised me. David Gill was a massive miss. Sir Alex Ferguson was a massive miss. The structure was completely different. The training and nutrition was way behind the likes of Juventus and Madrid from his time there. One question I posed when I was listening to come out with this, Sam, was surely a man like Cristiano Ronaldo, super intelligent, knows the football world very well. Surely you would have done your research before going to United, thinking that everything's changed.
Yeah, that was sorry, in my throat. Yeah, that was my point. One of my notes I wrote down, like everything he said. We all knew this. Fans knew this. Journalists knew this. Former players knew this. Gary Neville knew this. Everybody fucking knew this stuff. Like it was out there. Like we've been complaining about it for fucking years and years about the stadium not being up to standard, the training ground not being up to standard. I remember there was a thing about not Pogba, Lukaku. Was he lactose intolerant or something like that? And they didn't know, and they had him on this diet that had like lactose in it, and they had no idea that he was lactose intolerant. It's just like, really? This is a Manchester United, and we've not done our like research and gone, all right, this guy's allergic to this. Like maybe stop feeding it him, like just stuff like that. So we all knew this. And yeah, like we'll get on to another thing later on when he's talking about Rangnick. Ronaldo's not stupid. Ronaldo's not stupid. Like he's not stupid. Like you don't get to the level he's got to without being somewhat intelligent on the football game. To not know what you're walking into at Manchester United when there's been decade of evidence since he left of how badly run this club has been, how bad the owners have been for this club, how bad the management has been not supported in the following. I think Piers Morgan mentioned it. We've had Champions League winning managers and world class managers, and they've all failed, all of them, because of the structure around them. So there's no way he didn't know. And if he doesn't, then there's some serious problem going on. If he doesn't know this. And he didn't know this. But you should know this because everybody else does. But I agree with everything he said. I agree with it. But like you said, he should have known this before he walked in because we all knew it. Like every other person knew it. So,
I mean, Survey, you've said plenty of times, all these out-of-date facilities, and we know about it because we've discussed it so many times, especially on this show. It's clearly an issue that we need to address as a club. But are you positive we can do that now under Ten Hag? Are you seeing enough from the board and from the cogs that are slightly moving that we are going in the right direction in terms of facilities and things outside of the game.
Hopefully, because one thing we've seen that not only has the manager changed, but we don't have the same. What's his name isn't there anymore. Ed Woodward isn't there. Yeah. There's quite a few people that have left.
Praise the Lord, for fuck's sake.
There's quite a few people that have left this summer. A lot of people from the back rooms and all that, and then we've got new. And John Murta sounds, I don't know much about him, but he sounds ambitious, or at least he sounds like he wants to leave a mark. It's still 6 months in, so we don't know, what to expect. I would imagine that he has plans to change. Obviously, fans, we need to be realistic. It's not just going to be an overnight change. But I don't care about that. I want to see success at the club first, because that's what it comes with success.
That's an important pillar, no, to reach that success.
Exactly, but I think if we prioritize success, because we've put that on the back burner for some time, if we prioritize winning again, everything else comes with it. Look at Liverpool. Like, as soon as they started winning, things just started changing. Like, what was their sponsor before they won the Premier League? New Balance or whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
still with New Balance, aren't they?
Nike snapped.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Bro, once Nike comes for you, once Nike, honestly, this is marketing. Once Nike comes for you, that's it. You're there. So like, it was New Balance and some other crap. Look at all the sponsors have changed so quickly. Do you understand?
New Balance just like.
Before that, it was like Hummel or something like that. Like some brand I'd never heard of.
They had all these next brands, all these these unheard of people. But then once you start winning, all the sponsors look at the sponsors that we have, even without all the trophies. Imagine if we just start winning a couple of trophies again.
Yeah.
Like it's going to change. So I think we should prioritize winning first, and then everything else comes with it. Now, in regards to Ronaldo not knowing about this, Ronaldo has been back to this club twice since he left. Apart from that, if you're walking into a new job, your agent will have prior knowledge of that. George Mendes is also Jose Mourinho's agent, as well as quite a few other players.
Very good point.
And he runs Wolves, so he's fully aware of the Premier League.
He knows. He's had people here. I don't think it's Sanchez agent, but he's had quite a few agents at United, and he was Mourinho's agent as well. He would know very full well what he was walking into.
Everything.
So I don't believe that. He's been back here. I'm sure they use the facilities, so he knows. But
absolutely.
Is what it is.
Moving a bit forward in the timeline, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gets sacked, of course. And we appoint an interim manager in Ralph Rangnick, who I'm becoming to learn more and more that Ronaldo does not like this guy, because some of the quotes coming out from this, I was like, fucking hell. So quite a few damning quotes. He said, if you haven't coached for a while, you're going to lose the identity. So basically saying he wasn't capable of being a manager for United. Everyone I spoke to, meaning players and coaches and stuff, when I asked them about Rangnick, they didn't know who it was. He didn't know what he was doing. The problem was he didn't know the history of United. Like, that's harsh as fucking it, Sam. In fairness,
I don't believe that Rangnick doesn't know any history of Manchester United. Like, this guy is detailed to a fault. Like, Rangnick,
methodical.
He's like, that's what he's all about. He researches, does his due diligence, does the work, shows his work in, all that. So that is what Rangnick is about. This is why he's like been able to build Red Bull as a group. Like, Red Bull did not exist. How long did it been exist? Like 15 years, if that. Red Bull.
Not a long time in terms of history of a football club.
And they've built them from the ground up from nothing to an important club on the world stage in terms of developing talent. They're in the Champions League every year, and they've had a reputation for developing some of the best out of the world. Erling Haaland, Timo Werner, like Nkunku, like list goes on and on and on. So for Ronaldo to say he doesn't know who he is, and Ronaldo is involved in football I don't believe that for a second. There's no way you don't know who Ralph Rangnick is.
It's bullshit.
Like,
it's
you don't know.
bullshit.
There's no way. And to say, oh yeah, the players didn't know. The players knew who he was. Of course they fucking knew. There's no way they didn't know who he was. Like, it's just utter insanity. The only point I think he has something where it is like, obviously he was out of management for a while. I don't know how long it was. I don't know what his job title was.
I think his last job would have been Leipzig. I think he went back there for a brief spell.
Yeah, and then he was at Zenit, St. Petersburg. Was that where he was at?
Moscow.
Moscow.
I think
he had it managed for 5 years before.
5 years. So to a point, like, he does have a point in that. Like, if you're out of management for that amount of time, you do lose that sort of sense of like running things, keeping stuff sharp and stuff. But the guy, no doubt, has knowledge, has detail, has tactics, has stuff. There's a reason why people like Pep Guardiola speak about this Ralph Rangnick in such high regard. Jurgen Klopp is the same. This guy is a godfather to these two, arguably two of the most modern day successful managers at the minute. He's a reason why they play the way they are and the way they're successful. So it's just like, it's complete and utter bollocks to say nobody knew who he was. He was a nothing. It was a disaster. Everybody,
even if
go on, sir.
Even if no one knew who he was, people seem to forget why he was brought into the club. He wasn't brought in to win any trophies. He was brought in to steady the ship until we got our permanent manager. He was not our permanent manager. There's no way that we would have got any manager, any top manager at that time. They were all taken. They were all taken, and it was going to involve a process of interviews, a process. It was going to take a process to get a new manager in.
No top manager.
Why not?
No top manager in their right mind would have left and gone to United in the state they were in. No one was.
In the
no one
state
had
that
done
we
that.
were in.
No one had done that.
Yeah, exactly. So nobody would have done that. So people think we just got a manager to. No, he was only there for to steady the ship until the end of the season, and then we bring a new manager in. I think we already had our eyes on Ten Hag. What's his name? Pochettino. Yeah, and the summer was going to be the best time to get them. So that's what we had to do at the time. There's no point trying to sign someone, trying to pry them away from their clubs at that time and pay a high premium. Why not wait? But yeah, it's people. People forget this. It's what it is, man.
This could be pure speculation from myself, but I think there's been more stuff that's gone on behind closed doors between them two, because I know Ralph kind of publicly said it was coming out from a lot of credible journalists that he wanted to get rid of Ronaldo and he wanted to bring in like young strikers like Vlahovic and like Alvarez. So I think that's obviously was a point where Ronaldo was like he already said in the interview, and we've seen from the quotes where he's saying, if you disrespect me, I'll disrespect you. And he's gone for tat for toe, whatever you want to call it. But I think there's something more to it as well, in my personal opinion. I don't want to go down speculation road, but that's certainly what it seems like. Just by how sharp his tongue was on Rangnick, he had quite a few things to say on that. So I thought that was interesting. He spoke about the younger players at the club, and again there's a couple of interesting ones coming out of this as well. He said the young kids do not care as much nowadays. They're not hungry enough, not the same as my generation. When I was around Rio, Keane, Ruud, Van Nistelrooy, I wanted to learn from them every day. It's not like that now. And Ronaldo said, I like to lead by example. Some follow me, not many. So that was a slight dig at some of the young players currently at the club. He doesn't think a lot of them will have longevity, and he got asked to give an example on this, saying like, who do you think could potentially reach the top of the game, or who has the right kind of assets to do that? And he said Diego Dallo is an example. He's young but very professional. I have no doubt he'll play the game for a long time. He's smart and he's dedicated. And he mentioned Lisandro Martinez as well, which is no surprise, obviously, considering how he's kind of set in at United. Interesting that the players he's picked out though, right, Sam?
Yeah, I just wanted to, before I get to the players, I'll just touch on I prefer to set an example. This is coming from a man who walked out on his team after being asked to come on as a substitute, and then air all his laundry on a shit rag like the sun and talk to Piers Morgan.
Great example.
One example.
So yeah, and then pretend it's all perfectly normal behavior. Like, I don't know what to say about that. It also comes across as quite boomer energy, doesn't it? Like, it's very sort of, in my day,
know all about
that. Yeah. In my day, things were better. This generation doesn't know. Blah blah. It's just,
I get
fucking,
it. Yeah.
It's terrible. Like, just every generation seems to hate the generation that comes after it, and it's so tiresome. It's so fucking annoying. Just everybody hates, like, Generation X hates millennials, which is my generation, and I'm sure millennials hate Gen Zers. Like, it's just fucking, it's the same shite all over. Oh, they were more, I was more dedicated. It's like when your grandparents. I used to get up at 4 a.m. and walk 30 miles to get to work, and just, like, do you know what I mean? It's just
yeah. But now we got trams, love. You know what I mean? Who's gonna walk? Now we've got trams and buses.
Relax, like. It's good that Dallow's getting praised. Like, we've all praised Dallow. He's a very improved player. Like, fantastic. So,
I think we can see that on the pitch, can't we? Like, what he's saying is
incredible. And Lisandro Martinez, of course. Like, we've praised him so much this season. Just, yeah, he seems like a guy he still thinks in his head he's 29, 28, top striker, envy of the world. Clubs are left, right, and centre trying to sign him, and he wants to win everything. And the reality is he's not. He's 38. His body's starting to slow down, starting to decline. He's not able to do the stuff he once used to do and play at the level that most top teams need you to play at. If you look at the likes of Haaland, if you look at the likes of Osimhen and stuff like that, you need to be playing at a fucking elite level, quick, everything that you need in a modern striker, and his body isn't allowing him to do it anymore, but his mind's still there. And then to slag off the younger players and say you lead by example when the example you're leading is not a great one, walking off the pitch, refusing to play, disappearing and stuff.
Kind of shot himself in the foot there, hasn't he?
He hasn't got a leg to stand on there. And yeah, how do you feel? Like, I imagine people like Garnacho or people like Ilanga, people like Zidane Iqbal, etc. And your hero, your idol, is just saying you don't have what it takes. You're not as good as my generation. You don't listen. Blah blah blah. Like, that's horrible. That's disheartening.
Let's be fair though. Let's be fair. He said he did say that it was like young players across like football.
But the team he's in is Manchester United, so they're the ones who are going to take it.
Yeah. And he said that they get things easier now. Things are a lot easier now. So there is a point, but I do get what you're saying. He didn't have to go in on them like that. Like, he could have. There's so many ways you could say, certain things.
Does tough love work nowadays with young players?
It should. I think it should. It's certainly working in. Garnacho isn't playing just because he's a bright prospect. He's playing because he earned his place back in the team. They're not just playing players just because, because Hannibal would have never sold Hannibal. Not sold him. We would have never sent him. He was one of the top 2, top 3 players coming through.
Yeah.
But you have to earn your place, and tough love does work. Look at Luke Shaw. Like, Luke Shaw basically would have. I know he's not a young player, but like that spot was his, regardless of whether he was fit or not. That was his.
If he played shit or not.
Regardless of what happened, that was his position. But then now he knows that it's not his. It's up in the air, and he has to take it. And Malacia also knows, well, if I slip up, Luke's come back to take it. So yeah, I think tough love works.
Actually, I think this is what Ten Hag's doing. He's setting the example to these young players. So surely Cristiano can see that and just, like, I get to a certain point, a lot of our youngsters, they have been inconsistent. Ilanga's been inconsistent when he's come into the team. Not a lot of them have performed when they've got the chance, just in my personal opinion. But now Ten Hag is in, it's going to take time, but I believe in the next 6, 12, 18 months or whatever, you're going to start to see these guys start performing. Like you see with Garnacho now, I think there'll be a few more coming, whether that's Iqbal, Palestra, if he stays. I'm not entirely sure, but I thought it was very interesting comments on the young players. I want to move on to the segment, the loss of his child, which was, when you get to this bit, it's, for me anyway, obviously criticism goes out the window and you kind of just want to listen to what he's saying. And if you're human, it's going to affect you. A lot of people regard Cristiano as superhuman, but when something like this happens, for me anyway, I could only just sit there and kind of sympathise with him. He said, I was so happy and sad at the same time. You don't know how to react because obviously there was twins. I think one was a boy, one was a girl. The boy was the one who passed away, and the girl obviously was alive. So he kind of felt conflicted in that he was happy and sad at the same time. I told my kids the angel has gone to heaven. It's the most difficult moment since my dad died. My kids' ashes are next to my dad's. I want to keep them with me for the rest of my life. I talk with them every night. They're on my side. They help me be a better man. Thank you for all the English community. They respect me so much. And he said, obviously, the moment at Anfield was beautiful in the Kop end when he was all, I think it was the 7th minute. He was clapping and cheering and stuff. So sometimes tragedies like this put things into perspective. I mean, we can certainly understand this from a human point, right, Sam?
Yeah, like this part of the interview was just, my sympathies lie with him, and my well wishes go with him, to him and his family. Like, I can only imagine what it would be like to lose a child, not even a child, but a twin at childbirth, when one of them survives and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, it must be horrific. I can't even imagine the pain he's had to go through and suffer with, and etc. All sympathy deserves to go towards Cristiano for that, what happened to him. And grief affects you in weird ways. Some people will sit and dwell and it takes them and overwhelms them. Other people want to just take it and then go back to work and deal with it and work through it. And so, like, people deal with grief in different ways, and obviously Ronaldo is the kind of mentality. He took some time, and then obviously he came back rather quickly. In my sort of view, he came back quite quickly, so maybe that might have been a mistake. I don't know. Maybe taking more time to grieve might have been better for him. But everybody deals with grief differently, so I'm not going to tell somebody how to deal with it, because it's not my grief, it's theirs. They deal with it with whatever works for them.
Well, so after that, he spoke about life after it, trying to get, back into football. He said football life's so fast, you don't really have time to grieve. His wife, his girlfriend Georgina, helped me a lot to keep that mental strength. Do you think he needed a bit more time away, maybe, to regain that mental focus? Because it was a very quick turnaround when he came back into the team, considering what had happened.
Not necessarily. That's how some people cope. Not everyone needs time to go away. Some people cope by just getting into it, just getting back on track and kind of dealing with it. Maybe, football seems to be his safe space. Maybe that's the place where he thrives. Maybe that's the place that helps him. It could be therapy for him as well. Playing and just kind of getting back into it. So people heal in different ways. I'd never knock him for coming straight back. Maybe just the way he felt was the best way for him to get over that. Because, like, for someone like I can only speak for myself. Like, I hate to dwell. Whenever I have like a misfortune, I hate to dwell on it. Like, just to sit and just.
I was going to ask you that to see how.
Yeah.
Would you have done the same thing, basically?
Yeah. Whenever something, I just like to just get onto the next one, or just be active.
Keep the train going.
Yeah, just keep it going, because I spend a lot of time in my head, so I hate to just sit and just stew about the whole thing.
Yeah.
But when I think it's just a proactive step, basically, that helps him deal with it that way. So fair play to him. I know there's lots of people too. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know there's some players that have had some kind of misfortune and have just carried on playing or come back really quickly, So yeah, you can't really tell. Yeah, you can't tell people how to grieve. Really, they just have to do it the best way they can.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few kind of scattered bits after this in regards to Eric Ten Hag, the media and social media and these kind of things. He got asked about Ten Hag and if he knew anything about him, and again he said, "Well, I knew a little bit about him because of Ajax and stuff like that, not a lot." Which again I don't believe, because I think when a manager's come in, you're going to do all your research. You're going to look at what kind of players you use.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, but didn't Ten Hag knock them out of the Champions League?
Juventus, Ajax.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. I think. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so maybe that's.
So what's he talking about? Ajax beat them home and away.
This is what I mean. I think he's just the disrespect thing. That line where he says, "You disrespect me, I disrespect you." I think he's just firing shots back. That's what it seems like to me. And Piers Morgan said to him, Ten Hag, the media criticising. Well, not Ten Hag personally, but being criticised in the team that's being managed by Ten Hag, does that hurt you? And he said it's easy to point out when you want to cover things that are going on at the club because he's got a big name, so it kind of distracts from other situations that are ongoing. He said the press always criticise me regardless of what I do. They're jealous. I don't like to read social media. 90% of the time, they don't tell the truth. They constantly attack me and my family. Do you think the media's been overcritical of Ronaldo, Sam?
In terms of performances, no, I don't think they have. I think they've been fair. He's the biggest player on the planet, maybe bar one, in Lionel Messi. He's the most followed guy on Instagram. He's the most world famous footballer, again, beside Lionel Messi. So he is going to attract attention, and newspapers and journalists are going to try and attach his name to anything because they know it gets clicks and they know it gets hits and they know people are desperate for Cristiano Ronaldo related information. So, I think Piers Morgan touched on it later, the announcement for him on Twitter for Manchester United is the most retweeted, liked tweet of all time. He sold out more shirts than Messi when he came back. So you see the impact of this guy. This guy is stratospheric in his reach. So he's going to get criticised more than, say, I don't know,
your average kind of
player. Your average player who plays for a Premier League team. Just pick someone at random,
Rodri.
Rodri. Do you know what I mean? He's not good. Nobody's picking up a paper if Rodri's on it. Do you know what I mean? It's not. No offense to him. He's a great player, fantastic player, no doubt. But he's not going to attract headlines. So that comes with his territory. But I think it's kind of hypocritical of Ronaldo because he relies on the media and this fame and this people looking at him to build his brand, to build his image. He relies on this. This is how he's got to this point. But then to say people can't criticize him for his performances and people can't criticize when he's not doing well on the pitch, it's well, you can't have your cake and eat it too, Cristiano. You have to take everything that comes with it, or you step back and have a private life. I know a lot of players don't talk to the media, they don't interact, they don't go out, and they keep their lives private, and nobody writes stuff about them. Whereas he courts the media because he recognises it's good for his brand, for his underwear company. I'm sure he's got property, his wine, whatever he's got, all these different business interests. And then to criticise people like Gary Neville and Wayne Rooney, etc., because they're having a go at him and his form. They're not having a go at him personally, they're having a go at his form.
The job as pundits.
Yeah, they're having a go at his form, and he's playing poor. He's not playing well, so that's what comes. It's just it's very deluded to think people can't criticise you if you're not playing well. It'd be another thing if they're criticising you personally for the way you look or choices you made in whatever, that sort of stuff. That's a different thing. But to criticise your performance on the pitch is fine. And he doesn't seem to get why people can't do that. He seems to think that all he should receive is praise. And it seems to be a weird thing in his head. I don't understand the correlation that he has going on. It's bizarre to me.
What's your assessment on that survey? Would you agree with what Sam said there?
Yeah, I agree. just like I said before we went live, when I was watching this, I just wanted him to take a little bit of accountability at some point, and maybe he would have gained he would have gained respect from a lot of people watching, because if he's asked about the criticism he's receiving this season, what he should have said was, I understand the criticism. My performances haven't been up to, scratch. It happens in football. People lose form, blah, blah, blah. And then we would understand the rest of it. So I would understand, nobody wants players to be attacked for their personalities attacked for their private life or, being insulted and bullied and stuff like that. Nobody supports that. But the criticism that he's received is from his performances on the pitch. And the fact is that he's gone 520 minutes, 10 games, and scored 1 goal in the Premier League. 1. It's not created any big chance creations, 0%. Has 0 assists.
The stats as well you put up, Dick. Like with him in the team, our win rate is 25%, and then without him, it's like 70-odd%.
Like, do you understand? So so you have to take some responsibility for that, and it's not like he's not getting any chances. He's getting chances. I mean, when we played Sheriff, like the players were literally trying to.
I said that, didn't I? I said that in the previous video.
I remember once there was he was good, and you could tell like Casemiro was really trying to help him. So there was once where Casemiro was like at the edge of the box, and then it might have been Bruno, someone was running on the left, and there was just one defender in between them. But Ronaldo was coming from the right, and Casemiro tried to put the ball up so Ronaldo, on his head. Yeah. And I was like, you're on 699, and everyone's just trying to give you the score. And
I said to Nick, I said to Nick, it's like, do you know when you watch a kid's at a five-a-side party and it's the kid's birthday and they all want him to score and they're just passing him the ball so he can score on his birthday? That's what it felt like to me watching that game. Yeah. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah. So take responsibility, take some accountability, and say, you don't have to, just be responsible, and just for what we expect you to be. You're not doing that. Yeah. So own up to it like a man, and then because the fans, even though he doesn't have that connection to them, the fans really, really, really like this guy, and people are just looking for something to hold on to support this guy. But he's not really giving us anything.
Yeah. After this bit in the interview, this was like, I would class this segment as where Piers Morgan's just rim-licking Ronaldo, basically. Yeah. Just starts really, basically flirting with him. It was very fucking cringy to watch. He says to him, you have 500 million followers on Instagram. You're bigger than all the Kardashians put together. He was basically saying, what's the reason why you're such a big attraction and all this kind of stuff. And Ronaldo says, you have to be charismatic, maybe good-looking, good footballer, but I don't know the real reason. And he had a really weird line where he says, I am a fruit they want to bite. Let's say a strawberry.
I think it's lost in translation. I just think he's English. Yeah, he can't.
Even so, I was watching it and I was like, okay, this is slightly weird. Did anyone else find that segment really fucking strange?
I think no. There's certain things in different languages. As Severe knows, I think because his family's Nigerian and stuff. There's probably stuff that in Yoruba or whatever that doesn't translate into English that well. So.
Exactly. So I think that's what it was. He was then trying to, and he said something about the fruit being an appetizer.
Yeah. Appetizing fruit.
Something that an appetizing fruit. But then obviously he said it incorrectly. So it's like
I just had visions in my head of if he was doing an advert like Piers Morgan on a beach and Ronaldo's just this sweaty strawberry and Piers Morgan's just licking his gammon face and just it's very, very strange. It came off very weird, that little 5-minute bit.
They were talking about abdominal muscles as well at one point.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
What the fuck?
I didn't mean that specific bit that we was talking about then about the lost in translation. I mean the whole thing for 5 minutes.
What are we
basically
doing?
Piers Morgan just like piping off Ronaldo a lot of it. Like, you've got abdominals, I've not, but you know my tweet got this many likes because I said that, and it was like, where's this going, lads? Because it was a very, you know, like bits of it were detailed, bits of it were sincere.
Do you reckon the cameramen were like, Piers, you know we're still filming, right? We're still like, this is not a fucking date, by the way. Like,
very, very, very strange that bit. Towards the end, they got talking about the ex-players, the reason why Rooney and Neville criticise, and Ronaldo's basically saying they do it because they have to be in the spotlight using my name. That wasn't the direct quote. I was kind of writing it down whilst I was doing it, but it was something similar to that.
They said they were jealous as well. Like, it's that's the thing that your mum tells you. You know, when people are having a go at you, it's, oh, they're just jealous, love. Like, they're just jealous here. It's like, no, they're not. Like, they're really not. And it's just like, it's a very petulant thing to say, that because people criticize your performances, it means they're jealous of you. It's like, no, the pundits, that's the job. Like, that's what they do. Criticize performances of players.
And Piers Morgan didn't say criticize. He says attack.
Yeah.
He says that.
That's that quote I didn't get down proper because I can't remember what I was doing. But
he said attack, and that was absolutely wrong, because that's not what this is. Gary Neville has never attacked Ronaldo, never. So
that's what Piers does, isn't it? He uses set words.
It's like leading questions, So he knows what he's trying to get out of him, because he knows a certain quotes. That's why journalists will ask you very stupid questions, and you think it's stupid, but they want to hear you say certain things. So that they can use that as a quote, and then they'd ask it in such a way that is incendiary, to put a bit of venom in there.
He said,
media.
He said the thing as well, where like the whole thing that came out when this interview, the line was, "I feel betrayed." That line came from Piers Morgan. It didn't come from Ronaldo. Piers Morgan said, "Did you feel betrayed? Did you feel like you had been betrayed?" And Ronaldo went and just started talking. He didn't say that line. He never said the line, "I feel betrayed."
Because what he probably does beforehand, he's probably go, right, I want this bit out of this, I want that bit out of this, and then I can use that quote there, this quote there. It's all, as we know, it's premeditated. One point he did say, which I had to say I agreed with. He said they don't have a clue what's going on inside Carrington and the training ground. They only hear one side of the story, which I think is a very valid point. But at the same time, he hasn't come out and explained to a certain extent, or hasn't mentioned certain things. I don't know what you guys thought of that specific quote about Carrington and stuff.
Who doesn't have the clue about what's going on?
Pardon?
Who did he say doesn't?
He was saying basically like these pundits like Gary Neville and stuff, they don't have a clue what's going on inside Carrington and the training ground. They only hear one side of the story. So basically saying they don't know it from my perspective, what I've seen.
Yeah, but then they're not talking about the criticism is his performances on the pitch. There's nothing to do with anything that's happening in the background. They're criticizing why he's not performing, why he's not scoring goals, or how he's affecting the team. That's where the criticism comes from. It doesn't come from anything behind closed doors. It's not like a Pogba thing where people go, "Oh, he's a virus."
Would that not layer into other things though that are going on around the club? Attached to that, like the way training's going, for example, and things like that.
Everybody knows that he's the first person on the pitch or the training ground, and like the last person to leave. Like, that's Ronaldo. Like, so that all that backroom stuff. I don't know about you guys. I haven't heard anything. Well, before then, I hadn't heard anything about him being a problem. As a matter of fact, the only thing I heard about the dressing room thing was the supposedly him and Maguire were not like there was there was some kind of clash, and then when we heard that as fans, everybody was kind of like on Ronaldo's side, because we're like, this is the guy who is supposed to be. But if we're talking about criticism from former players and pundits, it's never been personal. It's never been it's never been anything to do with his private life. It's always been his performances on the pitch, and he should stick to that. It's nothing to do with anything personal with him. All the criticism has come from him not performing.
Can I ask you a question on that though, Severe? Let me just very quick ask you this. Is he not an element though? Let's put yourself in Gary Neville's shoes, or Roy Keane, or whoever. You know, talking about Cristiano Ronaldo is going to get the headlines, and you know it's going to be the biggest thing to talk about the next day. Is there not something inside of them, as a pundit that they are, thinking, I can make a really good point on this Ronaldo thing and get my name in the headlines? You don't think there's any of that going on whatsoever?
But we have to look at the people we're talking about here. If this was a talk spot sort of pundit, then I would understand that. But we're talking about Gary Neville. Gary Neville doesn't need. Yeah, Gary Neville doesn't need his name in the press. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? He's never been an attention seeker. A, B, it's a valid point. You're the biggest, supposedly the greatest footballer on the planet. You're not scoring goals. You think nobody's going to talk about that?
Also, they ask him.
Devil's advocate.
They ask him the questions. They ask him the questions as well. Like the host, like Gary Neville. They're not talking about like Casemiro and stuff like that. And then Gary Neville pipes in and goes, "I just wanted to talk about Ronaldo." Do you know what I mean? Like they're asking him about Ronaldo, so he has to give his opinion. Like that's what he's paid for. So
that's and another thing is we're not winning the games we're supposed to be winning. So obviously, why aren't we winning? Why aren't we scoring? We have a player like Ronaldo on the pitch. Why isn't Ronaldo performing? This is how the questions are asked. It's not like we say, "Oh, let's talk about him because we're gonna get no." And I don't think Gary Neville or Roy Keane or I don't know whoever else are people who would mention his name, who just name drop to get some sort of attention. Or
this is not a Graham Souness, Paul Pogba situation. Like, do you know where he would bring it up regardless, even if he wasn't playing, he'd bring it up.
I think there is an element. Me personally, I'm not saying Gary Neville in particular, but I think there is an element of that in the media or Sky Sports because they bring up his name. It's a big talking point, gets a lot of views. I think, like for example, when Gary Neville after the Brentford game, when he was talking about the Glazers and saying it's time to go, it's time, they've failed as a business, and then Redknapp was pushing him on that. I feel that creates good content, and Sky want that. So I think I see it from quite a few pundits. They'll talk about a specific thing because it drags that out. Just my opinion. I'm not saying Gary Neville in particular, but I have seen elements of that within certain pundits. I'm going to touch on the last topic now. I know you guys need your beauty sleep because you're about to fall asleep on your chairs. He got asked about Rio and Keane on the flip side of it, always having his back. Does that mean a lot? He said, yeah, it means a lot. Roy Keane was the best captain ever, in my opinion. Rio helped me out a lot as well. He was my neighbour. I feel betrayed that Neville and Rooney criticised me. They take advantage of my name because it brings a spotlight. Well, I think I know the answer to this, but there's kind of blind loyalty with Keane and Rio, isn't there? I feel especially with Keane because of what he did at United, in that he did an interview himself, didn't he, calling out all the players, and that's the reason why he left United. There's blind loyalty there, isn't there, Sam?
Yeah, like I don't know if you saw Rio talk to Jamie Carragher on 5. I think it was yesterday, and his defense of it was so poor. Like it was such a poor defense of Ronaldo. Like he had no leg to stand on. Like he was just going. So why?
Carragher was right.
Yeah, Carragher was spot on. That's what I'm saying. Rio was just falling apart, and I'm just like, I hate to agree with Jamie Carragher, and I really do, but fucking hell, like he was spot on, and like Rio's just going, but he didn't do this, he did it. I said, Jamie Carragher's like, what are you talking about? Like there's nothing to do with anything. It was a weird moment. So you could tell like Rio's argument doesn't hold any weight. Like it doesn't hold any value because, like you said, he's defending through blind loyalty because Cristiano's his mate. Like we all would. Like if Severe was getting criticised for something, we'd all defend him because he's our mate. Like that's what you do for your mates. Regardless of whether a Severe's done something wrong or something like that, you defend your mates, and that's admirable. But when you're a pundit, you're meant to have some sort of credibility.
And if you've got blind loyalty,
like obviously objectivity as well.
Objectivity, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Obviously, most of the pundits played for a team or have some sort of loyalty. Jamie Carragher to Liverpool, Gary Neville to Manchester United. Obviously, I think Gary Neville goes too far the other way sometimes. In order to try and remain neutral, he tries to fucking swing too far the other way, which annoys me. But that's beside the point. So I think you need if you're gonna be a pundit, you need to have some sort of objectivity, and Rio doesn't have that. He's blinded by loyalty. Roy Keane's the same way. Like Roy Keane, most of the time, is spot on with some of his observations. He's a really good pundit, but with the Ronaldo thing, he's wrong. Like he's wrong, and he's being blindly loyal to Ronaldo. He should know better because he's got no problem calling other players out or speaking the truth on other things. But when it comes to Ronaldo, there's a blind spot, and he's totally wrong on it.
Yeah. Anything else on that situation, Severe, before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think it's just the way Roy Keane left the club. Amid some kind of controversy. He never got like an apology from anyone, and he still holds it. I don't know if you guys watched his. There's the thing Gary Neville was doing
Off
when
the
he
ball.
walked with them. Yeah, that
Oh,
one.
the overlap you're on about, aren't you?
Was it overlap?
Where he walked through the thing
walking
with
his
his
dog.
Yeah. Was
Yeah,
that
the
overlap?
overlap.
Yeah. But yeah, that revealed a lot about Roy Keane. Like Roy Keane, like he went really in depth in the way he left, and you could tell there was still a bit of bitterness there.
Definitely.
And yeah, and obviously, just Roy Keane is I'm not surprised. He just likes to be different. Like he just likes to oppose everything else that everyone's doing. So yeah, he's going to do that. It is what it is. I mean, like Sam said, sometimes you just have to stick up for your mate. But if you're a pundit, and I know Rio really tried, but it was just so pathetic. Like,
it was bad.
Was so cringe.
It's ironic as well, Severe,
yeah.
because he was a really good defender, but his defence there was shocking.
His defending was like QPR, wasn't it? When he was at QPR, it was that sort of level of defending.
Yeah, I couldn't watch the whole thing. It was really cringe, and I had to turn it off because I was like, this is just I don't want to see it. So yeah.
Can I have 2 minutes to talk about Piers Morgan as the
Fire away.
gammon-faced slimy cunt that he is?
Yeah, please. One sec. Let me put my feet up.
There was no like indication or even attempt to be a journalist in this interview, was there? Like literally just, I'm gonna kiss Ronaldo's ass. I'm gonna lick every part of him and just agree with him and not challenge him on any single point. Like literally not a single challenge. Like as a journalist, your job is to get to the truth. And he literally, like as Sir Alex said famously, and he literally challenged it on 0 point. It's like, I've not heard of Ragnick. Why didn't he go? Well, he did this at Red Bull, blah blah blah. Or I've not heard of Ten Hag, like you said, Nick. Well, didn't he knock you out of the Champions League when you played against Juventus? Do you know what I mean?
He even mentioned his goals this season or anything this season. Like, it was all last season.
There was no challenging thing. And then, like Severe said, he mentioned the word attacking. They weren't attacking. They were criticising you for your performances. They weren't attacking you. If they were attacking you, they'd be insulting your personal appearance or your family life or whatever. That's attacking. They weren't doing that. He challenged nothing. And he did not keep... Like, there was no activity. There was no neutrality. And he literally, this was, I said in the group chat, this was what I call a convenient relationship. This is what it was.
Yeah.
It
of
was,
course.
I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. It's mutually beneficial. We don't have to do any hard journalism. You can talk about whatever you want. I'll get all the clicks and the fame, and I'll get all the sort of glory from it. You get to say whatever you want, unchallenged. And it's just complete and utter pandered bullshit. And
yeah.
Sorry, Severe, I'll let you jump in.
No, go on.
I put a picture of an article that he wrote. I think it was like back when Ronaldo was playing for United, like 2000. It's like why Ronaldo's a crybaby and why you should not like him. He wrote this. Piers Morgan wrote this. So how's he gone from that and now all of a sudden he's kissing Ronaldo's ass? You know what I mean? Like it's utter. Anybody in the chat, if you think this was a neutral and balanced interview, think again. It's complete and utter bollocks. Don't believe a fucking word of it. Sorry, Sabine.
I think anyone who has a bit of insight on Piers Morgan would know that anyway, to be honest. He's just... You know what you're going to get from him.
Did you guys think maybe Piers Morgan actually thought, well, he's not being as explicit as I expected, and that's why he was asking some kind of questions to kind of get Ronaldo to... Because sometimes when you interview people, sometimes it's good to just let them, like, let it all out.
Yeah. Then.
And do you think that, just let them vent. And he might have been asking him some of these questions. Obviously, there's leading questions so that he gets, the explosive sort of quotes. Yeah, that he can use.
Yeah.
It's probably a tactic that he was using. Hence, using words like attack, and hence.
He knows. He knows. It's been in the media for so long.
This is a guy. This is a guy who's got no morals whatsoever. This is a guy who hacked and murdered girl's phone after they knew she was dead in order to get to the voicemails out of her phone. So this guy's got no fucking morality or qualms about doing anything slimy.
Yeah.
They're
actually very similar. Sorry, go on.
No, sorry. Just to end on, just a few descriptive words to summarise that interview, lads. Well, the part one. I'll go with you first, Sam.
Underwhelming.
Yeah. Severe.
Dead rubber. Is that a thing? When they say dead.
I know what you mean by it. Yeah.
Duck. He's out for a duck. That's the cricket term, isn't
it? Now the second part of the interview is out tomorrow. We will be covering that. We will have our World Cup countdown as well, so make sure you tune in for that. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. Smash a like on the video. And if you'd like to donate to our Movember campaign that we're doing, growing these lovely tashes, the link is in the video description, or you can... Is the QR code on at the minute, Sam?
Not on this one, but I can...
On this one.
The link is in the description. Last question from Adam. Who would you rather punch, Piers Morgan or Boris Johnson?
Oh, you can't. Why throw a question like that towards the end of a thing? Because that's just
good one to end on.
Fucking hell. I actually can't. I don't know. I can't pick.
Piers Morgan.
Because Boris has done so many wrong things.
But he's funny. At least he's funny to watch.
Yeah, I'll go with Piers. I think we can all throw a dig at Piers.
At the end of the day, like I think if they were just being normal, like I'd rather sit and have a pint. Like I know I'd have a laugh if I sat with Boris Johnson. Like Piers, there's no liking Piers Morgan.
Boris is an odd one.
There's no liking of any of them. But my hatred for the Tories is world famous. So. Given an opportunity to punch Boris Johnson, I'm not giving that up like for anything. I'm taking that opportunity 10 out of 10 times. Like just fucking let me have it. Let me do it.
Yeah. And on that bombshell, guys, that concludes the show. Thank you very much for everyone who's tuned in. If you're tuning in live or you're tuning in later on, like I said, the second part of the interview is coming out tomorrow. We will cover that. We have our World Cup countdown, which is going to be a lot of fun as well. And make sure you check us out on socials. Thanks for coming on, Sam.
No worries. 2 videos in one night. That's a first for Real Reds, I think.
Absolutely, popping off. And Severe, thank you very much. Go get some well-deserved beauty sleep.
That's how he stays so young. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's the trick. 10 hours a night, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You don't get to be 56.
What a fuck. 56.
4 years. I'll be 16 in 4 years.
He's more lies than Piers Morgan here. I'm not having that.
Every show he gets older. Just every show he gets older.
You got like women over 50 now watching, like, fucking hell. All right, I'll have a go.
I'm 56. Yeah. Anyone want to? Yeah.
Hit me up. Hit him up. Severe on socials.
If you got your boss pass, hit Severe up. He's up for it.
Honestly, anyone watching, if you've got any single moms,
there it is. There it is. He's ready. He's down. He's up for it. We need
to do this uncensored show. Like we need to do this uncensored show.
Absolutely.
I think it would be fucking gold.
Yeah. Like, people by now are just like, what? Yeah. Like I was in the Piers Morgan interview. What the fuck is going on here? Yeah. All right, guys. We're gonna have to leave it at that. Thank you for coming on. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah.